All right. Good morning. Thank you for joining me today as I read The Art of Focus by Dan Coe. 3 pages a day, hopefully at 7:45 Eastern Time every morning. All right, I'm on page 103. When you set the goal of achieving good financial health, as a mediocre example, the thought ends there. And if we don't maintain our focus on that outcome with a plan, perspective, and distraction mitigation, negative thoughts flood our mind that influence our ability to act. The thought of making a lot of money is great, but since you have not achieved it, that is the only positive outcome unless reinforced with evolving reasoning as to why you want to achieve it. On the flip side, your mind can wander to the bills you need to pay, the school loans you forget about, a potential tax audit, paying your friends back, the rising gas prices, the cost of energizing food, and each of these can splinter your focus infinitely with the negative thoughts associated with each. Nobody can make up their minds on the best mental, physical, or financial plan because it has become increasingly difficult to order our minds on a meaningful hierarchy of goals. The modern information landscape will throw you into a chaotic loop of overwhelm if you lack the ability to focus. The only option is to forge your own path. You must set a conscious goal, create clarity through self education and experimentation, and abide by the principle of progressive overload to increase the challenge. Practice until your skill is up to par and repeat the process as life lessons compound into a personal philosophy that can be shared to advance the collective mind. The average individual yearns to break free of what used to bring order to their mind, like working a job, because the challenge has stopped increasing. They've been doing the same old thing for too long. Their mind races toward anxiety at the thought of future work, and while we are there, we think of something better we could be doing. We look forward to the weekend, and come midday on Sunday, we find ourselves with nothing to do, gravitate toward boredom, and seek to fill our time with whatever entity, often negative, that pops into our heads. As the day goes on and worldly responsibilities close in, the anxiety starts to creep in. The solution to this endless negative oscillation is education, clarity, and action. This book, up until now, has been for education and awareness. For clarity, we need a firm understanding that we can only have full control over one thing, our focus, the order we create in consciousness. Through focus, we can control what goes into our mind, how we interpret that information, and what we produce with it. If we want to create and maintain an enjoyable order in our lives, we need a progression of engaging external stimulation to dedicate our focus to. We clearly want to fill the 125 billion bits of our finite focus or potential with the information that will make life most enjoyable. But it takes time to dig yourself out of the programmed hole you find yourself in around 15 years old. Most realize this even later. When you combine necessities like grooming, cooking, errands with 15 years of unconscious buildup, our potential decreases even further. You no longer have a full 125 billion bits to fulfill. But don't let this split your focus into a state of anxiety. While this is an urgent matter for those that know they are meant for more, you cannot change where you are. You can only change the perspective you hold that will lead to beneficial action. Reflect on your past. Has there ever been a point where you learned something new, become obsessed with it, and feel like you're on top of the world? A new diet can bring you physical energy, but we tend to neglect that most of that sudden boost is the result of clarity. When we follow a routine without waver, stick to a new meal plan, or discover a new passion, we feel good. This presents a potential trap. Many people attribute the good feeling to the ideology, method, or tactic that brought it into their life. Those that realize the source of enjoyment is clarity will be able to experiment with methods in an open state of mind. From there, they can create their own method so that when the other inevitably fails them, they aren't boxed into a state of mental turmoil. The quality of your human experience is most influenced by the structure of the information you process. When you create a meaningful hierarchy of goals, acquire the skill necessary to achieve those goals, and act from the perspective of your highest self, life becomes enjoyable. This is in your control, but is not immediate. When the external is aligned with the internal and focus is tight, the unconscious powerhouse of a mind sends resources to fuel your present moment actions. Being and doing collapse into one. I'm convinced that most people have experienced this wonderful state of consciousness, but have no clue how to replicate or sustain it. A beautiful harmony of progress being made without a worry in the world. As we push back against entropy, our focus must evolve as we do. We must structure the game we wish to play, learn how to play, win, and create the next one. Because if you continue playing the same game, it'll either become boring or you'll be caught up in one that you may not care to play. And if you choose to play a game that you are not skilled enough for, you will either get anxious or you'll find an excuse to quit altogether. Infinite games are that of the mind, the path of mastery in your endeavors. One can begin physical training, but if they don't evolve beyond the superficial pursuit of looks, the game will collapse and life will lose meaning. Enjoyment is found in the small improvements made in all domains of life, and improvements are infinite if you continue to expand who you are. The path of mastery. The closed minded, quick fix attitude toward life is the greatest trap of our times, and it runs much deeper than the average person believes, which is ironic because the reason they think they aren't a victim of closed mindedness is closed mindedness in itself. Closed mindedness encapsulates a host of other problems like distraction, reactivity, surface level living, falling for get rich quick schemes, lack of commitment in business and relationships, and the inability to discover and pursue one's purpose. The biggest culprit of this problem is your inability to increase your level of mind beyond your programmed perspective. You become a victim to the web of expectations, concepts, and beliefs that circulate from situation to situation. Your perspective houses your beliefs, thoughts, and experiences that you hold unconsciously as absolute truth in a subjective reality. All right, tomorrow is day 27, and I hope to see you here. Tomorrow is Tuesday, I believe, Tuesday. So it'll be 7:25 tomorrow morning, or if you're on LinkedIn, it is 7:45. All right, ciao.